So it just makes sense that if you had more substrate, more protein on board metabolically for that animal to use, would that enhance that protein deposition? And we did see definitely some evidence of that in a small trial that we just recently completed. We saw an increase in hot carcass weight. We saw an increase in ribeye area. And then we also saw a decrease in 12th rib back fat. All those are good drivers on carcass quality, carcass value. That 10 pounds of carcass weight is extremely worthwhile in today's market for sure. We saw a numerical increase in average daily gain. The big thing we saw was an increase in efficiency, statistically different increase in efficiency on feed to gain. And I think that's just because we've got that substrate on board metabolically for that animal to use as experiencers telling that animal to put in more protein and less fat. So if it's available to them, then they're able to use that. We do have some evidence that they're doing that. There's some validation we need to do a little bit, but super excited about where this could go.
Welcome to the Beef Podcast. I'm Travis Mullenix, and today I have Kraig Peel with me. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, today's show is sponsored by Adisseo, and which has been a big company. Adisseo has been a big company in the dairy industry for a long time, supplying amino acids. That's getting to be a popular or hot topic on the beef industry standpoint as well. And it looks like you guys are coming out and working in the beef industry now.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity, Travis, to come on and talk about this. You're right. Adisseo has been a big player in dairy industry for amino acids and supplying amino acids in the right proportions to dairy cows for milk production. I started with Adisseo about 2 years ago as a dairy tech specialist. Spent some time. I've always been a beef guy, but I was a dairy nutritionist for a period. So I convinced Adisseo that, hey, there's a whole bunch of other cows out there that we use for beef. So we started looking into it and put together some business plans. We feel like there's some real potential from a nitrogen efficiency standpoint in the beef industry and benefits to beef. So we're stepping out and going that direction now with Adisseo.
That's great to hear. That's definitely a market that's needed. When you look at the cost of trying to increase metabolizable protein through our natural sources, it's way too high. And so some of these bypass amino acids could be the future of that, is that we're kind of limited on that, especially in a growing end and from a reproduction end. And so there's a lot of need and benefit of some of these rumen protected amino acids.
Yeah, I agree. Yes, sir.
A worldwide leader in animal nutrition, Adisseo's portfolio of products includes nephionine, the full range of vitamins, enzymes, organic selenium, probiotics, mycotoxin management strategies, and palatability products. With such a diverse offering, Adisseo supports its customers with a broad range of expertise, tools, and services to help them maintain a competitive advantage. Adisseo, fueling predictable profits. To learn more, visit Adisseo at www.adisseo.com.
So what do you believe is the benefits of the beef industry as you guys move into this space? What's the benefits of you guys moving into working into the beef industry?
We're still, of course, we're going to take all of our knowledge. Adisseo has a huge body of research on the dairy industry and metabolic and function and milk production and animal performance. So we got some research to do to actually validate some theories that we have, but we know from our experience in the dairy that we're going to improve nitrogen efficiency. We're going to help liver health. The question is, what are the downstream effects on protein deposition, and especially in the feedlot industry? What are the benefits in cow-calf? Can we increase immune response in young calves? In these receiving rations. And, the beef industry is poised right now for these new technologies. And I think they're more willing to adopt them and look at them now because of the value of cattle. Beef cattle are at an all-time high. As everybody knows, you can't even open a book anywhere without seeing that. So we just think this is a great opportunity for us. We've got some research we're working on currently. We've got some preliminary results that are pretty encouraging.
The dairy industry has been so much far ahead of us from a nutritional standpoint. They get their hands on cows every day. They feed their cows every day.
Right.
And they see the end result the next day, right, in milk production. And in beef industry, we don't see that, and it's such a much harder to get our hands around some of these deficiency issues or issues that rumen protected amino acids could come in and play. So that's been a big challenge from and the beef standpoint. And then back to what you said is you just need that data. Is it takes a while to get good, clean data to be able to prove this. And there's historically been a lot of amino acid research done for the last 50 years on the beef side that would support this. But from a company standpoint, it takes a little bit of time of just getting that data to actually prove your products do X, Y, and Z, right?
Right. And we've got some preliminary stuff that's super encouraging that we can talk about as well if you'd like. But
sure.
We're just keep pushing, just trying to get the data and trying to be able to prove it. Because if we go sit down with a beef producer or a beef nutritionist, they're going to want to know what's the ROI on their investment, right? And so if they're going to feed this product, how much is it going to make them in the long run and at the end point? And so we have seen a big impact on efficiency and liver health for sure. We actually did our first project came off on a feeder study with Experior, which is the beta ligand that is currently being used across the U.S. Because it shifts protein deposition, that later feed period to protein deposition versus adiposity. So it just makes sense that if you had more substrate, more protein on board metabolically for that animal to use, would that enhance that protein deposition? And we did see definitely some evidence of that in a small trial that we just recently completed. We saw an increase in hot carcass weight. We saw an increase in ribeye area. And then we also saw a decrease in 12th rib back fat. All those are good drivers on carcass quality, carcass value. That 10 pounds of carcass weight is extremely worthwhile in today's market for sure. We saw a numerical increase in average daily gain. The big thing we saw was an increase in efficiency, statistically different increase in efficiency on feed to gain. And I think that's just because we've got that substrate on board metabolically for that animal to use, as Experior is telling that animal to put in more protein and less fat. So if it's available to them, then they're able to use that. We do have some evidence that they're doing that. There's some validation we need to do a little bit, but super excited about where this could go.
Yeah, I mean, and some, that's the difference in building some rations of increased metabolizable protein or feeding bypass amino acids during that light feeding period that will help with that. That historically, that has not been a big push. That metabolizable protein in that late feeding period has been decreased, and so that's really cool data. So how are you going? You got a few projects going on. So are you targeting more of the feeder industry standpoint right now? Receiving end.
Well, from a company standpoint, and sales, I spent a lot of time as a university professor, so I wasn't really about making revenue. But now working for a company, they're like, you know what, you got to figure out a way to make money as quick as possible. And that's in the feedlot industry, right? That's where the big money is. The projects we have going on currently are in these receiving cattle. Can we increase and improve immune response? Because these cattle are coming in lighter and lighter, more and more stress as they're coming into the feed yard because of the value. So we're looking at that. We're also looking at cow-calf. Is there an opportunity for enhanced reproduction in the cow-calf operation? Is there an opportunity for stockers in the Flint Hills of Kansas? Just when cattle get turned out over the wintertime, is there some opportunities there to subsidize that and to have a positive benefit? But again, it all comes down to ROI. But what I've done is just kind of opened up every segment of the beef industry, from cow-calf, stockers, feedlot, and looking at where we might could have an impact in all segments of the industry.
Yeah, I think the future of the nitrogen retention thing will be one of the biggest things. That's a bigger environmental concern than methane will be. And so having products that increase nitrogen retention and decrease loss will be a big environmental savings.
Absolutely. And, if you look in Europe, a lot of their environmental regulations are centered around nitrogen. We tend to focus on carbon here, but nitrogen is a big issue. And if we're feeding amino acids versus a crude protein, can we be more efficient? Maybe it's not nitrogen efficiency or retention as much as it is more efficient utilization, right? And so we're putting in the right amino acids, the right type of protein for that animal to use more efficiently.
So what's the main product that you're looking at supplying the beef industry right now?
Within Adisseo, it's a product called Metasmart. which is truly not a bypass protein, a bypass amino acid. We do have smartamine, which is the standard in the dairy industry, right? That's a bypass. The problem is all feed yards use a machine to put in all the micronutrients. The smartamine it can go through there, it just gets damaged. That coating gets damaged. So Metasmart is actually a HMTBA with an isopropyl alcohol. So as the animal eats it, it's tough as heck. It can we can pellet it, we can put it in a mineral, set it out in the sun. It can be we have a liquid version as well. And I just felt like it was a product that it's actually a methionine analog. So it's a precursor. So we're going to feed it to the animal. It gets absorbed metabolically. Then the liver uses that as a precursor to make methionine. So we're actually allowing the animal to do that, and the microbes will do it as well. So we're utilizing that product just because of its efficiency and the way we have so many different ways of using it in beef cattle rations and beef cattle diets. So Metasmart is our primary product. The other product we're focusing on also is an organic selenium. I taught nutrition for years at the university. I taught veterinarians nutrition. And I didn't realize till I went for Adisseo that not all selenium is created equal and not all selenium forms are metabolized equally. And so Adisseo has the only hydroxy-selenomethionine product on the market currently. And that's the only storable form of selenium. And so we're looking at that from an immune function standpoint as well as repro because of the selenoproteins that drive reproduction and the impact there. So pretty excited about both of those, but those are really just the two products. Adisseo's got a whole book full of products, right? But we're just looking to make it efficient. What can we focus on? What can we have some quick wins and have a quick impact in the beef industry with these two products? These are what we're focusing on.
So on the selenium, are you targeting, a lot of Western United States, we're really deficient in selenium in our soils.
Sure.
Are you targeting cow-calf with the selenium, or is that just across the board?
We're looking across the board, but of course, cow-calf's right off the bat. The nice thing about this organic is we have a lot of data in the dairy industry to show that it's transferred maternally in the milk. So not only are we supplementing her deficiency as she's gestating, we're also supplementing that calf once it's born. So in these areas of high deficiency, we're getting a bang for our buck there to get those calves off to the right start.
Yeah, I can see that having a big impact in some early deficient areas of, even from sheep production as well. I know we're not talking about sheep production, but the issues that they have with selenium and I think that's could have a big impact across the ag industry from that standpoint.
Well, organics, this selenomethionine is storable in the muscle tissue. And with it on board during times of high stress, because we're capped at 0.3 parts per million in the United States, they really need more than that at times of high stress. So they're able to pull some of this out of reserves and be able to metabolize that and be able to use it. I'm kind of skeptical coming from a science background at the university. And so when they told me how great this was, I started doing my own research, and there's actually some human forms as well. And there's some good data out there right now that it lowers the incidence of Alzheimer's and dementia because of its antioxidant ability and it's circulating in the bloodstream. So I actually take it as a supplement myself currently.
Their own product. You're taking your own product as
no. There's a human form, right? I mean, yeah, no, I'm not pulling it out of a bag or something, but yeah, there's some human forms out there.
So yeah, it seems like there's a lot of opportunity, not only on the amino acid side, but what you're moving into the selenium side across the beef industry.
Yeah, and then the cow-calf, we're just trying to target each segment. So where do these products? And the other thing I've learned is you can't just say, here's a product that's going to make you money. You've got to find places where there's problems. And so if you think about the cow-calf side, I look at it, and I've ranched previously in another life, but our biggest struggle is getting those first calf heifers bred back. And so that's where I'm really focusing on this Metasmart and this methionine product. Can we increase that reproductive efficiency of that cow that's still growing, still lactating? And can we get more of those animals bred back so they stay in the herd longer? So that's really where I think is going to be a big impact in the cow-calf side.
Oh, it definitely is. And so that's one of the big challenges with, first calf, even second calf heifers is in some environments is we don't have enough metabolizable protein supply to support all those functions of lactation, of her trying to grow, of reproduction, and that's just reproduction falls short, right? And she doesn't cycle doesn't get bred back in time, and so that's a massive issue.
Right, and a lot of people don't understand that every cow has to partition the nutrients she has on board for different functions, and unfortunately, repro's way down the list.
Yep, it's a luxury event, yeah, and so that's a challenge in Western United States with our forage conditions of getting cows rebred, and so I see a big impact of some of these amino acids in that field of, being very strategic and being targeted of feeding, a specific amino acid profile, and you guys have it. And that can target increased reproduction and do it very cheaply,
right,
and cost effectively.
That's the goal, yes, sir.
So what's the future look like for as you move from a dairy focused industry? So what's the future from your eyes look like moving into the beef industry?
I think it's getting this data together first, and then being able to disseminate information once we pull this data up. So it's opportunities like this, like a podcast like yours, to be able to come on and help producers understand, because it's not going to be widely distributed right off the bat as we, in the early stages of pulling this data together and putting it out. I mean, we're going to go to some events and some conferences, right? But getting in front of nutritionists and producers to help them understand, here's another way to think about it. And there's going to be an educational component to that. So that's kind of how I see us getting started and moving forward in 26 is educating nutritionists, beef producers, that here's an option. Here's a way that you can help supplement your cattle. Here's what it's going to cost. Here's what we have shown to be the return on that investment. We feel like it's worthwhile. But also, the other things I'm looking at, this liver health thing, especially in feeders, is really intriguing to me. I mean, we've seen some early evidence of increased liver health. And so going forward in these feeders where liver abscesses, especially on these beef on dairy calves, can we have an impact there? I don't know yet, but I'm hopeful for sure. And so we've got some more research to do with that as well to see where we go with that.
Yeah, first thing that came to my mind when you're talking about that is these calves, and managing those beef on dairy calves at the calf stage. And if we could set them up properly, and this may be one of those areas that fits, but I think that's where they fail. And that's then, once they get to the feedlot, they already have issues. And so it's proper management at the calf standpoint that's causing some of these issues, and proper nutritional management and not fishing them too hard, et cetera. But definitely if there's benefits there from a liver health, that could be setting them up better for the feedlot.
Yeah, and we're pulling from our dairy data, right? I mean, we've shown all this with the dairy data. And Adisseo actually has a liver health index that measures some biomarkers to give us an indication there. So we're going to be using some of that knowledge that we already have, and glutathione production, all those kinds of things. We'll be tracking that pretty close to see if we have a positive impact there in beef.
So what strategy do you have for the company to move into the beef industry? I mean, you've kind of talked about getting some papers out or getting some research out and meeting with nutritionists, producers. What is there any other strategy that you're looking at to get the information out?
Just meeting with companies that make a lot of feed into the beef industry, and they all have conferences, and the truth is it's a pay to play. So you help sponsor the conference, and you get to give you a period of time to give a presentation. And so that's going to be one of our initial strategies for sure. The other thing that's really fun about the beef industry is, especially from a nutritionist standpoint, there's a few nutritionists that control a whole bunch of cows. So can we make a big splash with just 4 or 5 nutritionists with over 1 million feeders? I mean, that's easily doable in today's market, right? So the strategy is education, but also linking up with some of these key players that have the ability that actually control a lot of cows. Yeah,
the feeding industry makes it a lot easier in getting your foot in the door because of that. Of then the smaller number of nutritionists. The cow calf takes trust and relationships to build.
Yeah, it'll take a little more time.
It takes a lot more time to build, but the feeder industry is first to adopt, and they see that result much quicker. And so the other challenge is the size of cow-calf producers sometimes limits some of that adoption.
And the truth is, the things you have to look at is who's going to capture that value. And so when I look at these late feeders, if I can increase hog carcass weight, which we've shown we can do that by 10 pounds in this preliminary study, and I can have a big impact on feed to gain and efficiency during exterior. That's usually about a 45-day average feeding period. So that's a pretty quick turnaround on data. If I can get it into some cattle, late feeders, 45 days during exterior, track them to the plant, get carcass data, which is easy. I mean, all plants now are using a camera to grade carcasses, so you can get all that data, within a couple of days. So it's a quicker turnaround than having to feed a calf from start to finish. We're just focusing on right now at this endpoint, this last 45 days during exterior, and this other research on the front end for the first 60 days on a receiving ration.
Definitely a very targeted approach. And so compared to exterior, with exterior alone, you're saying adding in smart amine increased carcass, compared to exterior alone. Okay,
right. So if they're on exterior, we had a treatment with Metasmart, a treatment without, but both groups were on exterior. Yeah,
and that makes sense. If you could supply that increased amino acids during that time point, that you could do that.
It's just supplying the substrate for the exterior to be able to do what it's made to do.
So it's definitely, I think, as feed costs increase for a lot of producers, looking at avenues to be a lot more targeted and strategic about, can we deliver some of these feed additives that can really increase the efficiency, no matter what calf prices are today. That's always the deal, right? Can I be very targeted about my approach and feed something in a small amount that will have a increase in some biological response that I'm trying to achieve, whether it's reproduction, it's gain, feed efficiency, you're talking about carcass weight in the last 45 days. I mean, that pays pretty quickly if you can find those feed additives that are that biologically potent.
Right. And that's why we like Metasmart too, because we have a dry and a liquid version. Yeah. So, from a dry standpoint, it can go to a mineral for cow calf. And from a liquid, it depends on, there's a lot of companies that have a range supplement that's a liquid, that's a lick tank or whatever. So we have some options there to be able to integrate into the industry pretty quick.
Yeah, the flexibility is very important from that standpoint. I think it will help get this out.
Flexibility and applicability and how you deliver it.
Yeah. Yep. It'd be interesting to see in the future where you guys are and how you're moving into the beef industry.
We're just going to see where we can show the best results, and then we're going to track that and keep working these other projects on the side to show benefit. Because that's, like I say, I come from a producer background, and if it doesn't benefit, I mean, if you tell me that it's more nitrogen efficient, that doesn't help me on the ranch because I don't get paid for that. And so we've got to, you got to keep that mindset of who's getting paid and when and where's the impact on that. And that was the only other thing I forgot about on the selenium is we have some really good data on that meat shelf life. This organic selenium embedded into that muscle tissue increases shelf life by 2 weeks. Now, that's a whole nother marketing piece because the cow-calf guy doesn't care about that. The feedlot guy doesn't care about that. He didn't get paid for it. So that'll be at the retail side, right? And so that's a whole nother level. That's people I don't know, but that's down the road.
Definitely a value added product for someone, but doesn't fit everyone's need.
Right.
And that's the challenge of the segmented beef industry is that, it could have a great benefit of the industry, but who makes the money from it? And so that limits the use, right?
Exactly. Yep.
It's time for our famous three.
Well, to wrap us up here, I got 3 questions here. And the first one is, what is your go-to highly recommended beef resource that you recommend someone utilizing?
Honestly, from way back in the day when I was in graduate school, there's a big old nutrition book from Pond and Church that I think is still kind of the nutrition Bible for beef. And I always go back and check that. And it's funny. I mean, you go back and look at some of the amino acid stuff. There's some stuff in there and there's a little bit of predictability in there if you go back and dig through it. But yeah, that's kind of my old standby. I have it on my shelf here. I always kind of go back and take a peek at it.
Yeah, Church was definitely a big person that really set the stage for a lot of amino acid or a lot of supplementation, ruminant nutrition research. Yeah.
Yep.
So what is a book that you highly recommend someone reading that's a non-ag book?
I always have the same answer. But it's hard for me to really say it's a non-ag book because but my answer is the Bible, honestly. But there's still a lot of animal stuff in there about how you handle animals, what you do with them, when do you eat them, what parts do you eat. A lot of that stuff is you read through some of that, it's still relevant today. It's just some things we've forgotten about.
Don't misquote me, but I believe it states ruminant nutrition at least 18 times in the Bible.
Could be. I have, yeah, you may be right.
So animal nutrition comes up quite a bit. And so that's great. Lastly, what sets apart a successful beef professional from someone that isn't?
I think from my standpoint and what I do, I need to be, I think to make me successful versus somebody else is focused on how can I help people solve their problems? Not how can I sell your product, but how can I help you solve a problem? If my product happens to help solve that problem, that's a plus. But yeah, I've done a lot of work with beef producers, and that's the shift in focus is how do I help you solve whatever problem it is you're going through today? Today might be different than tomorrow, but how can I help you versus how can I sell you something?
No, I think that's, from a company standpoint, the integrity of that is so important, because we see so many products that don't work that get pushed on producers that it's unfortunate. And when they tell me they're using X, Y, and Z, I kind of just want to shake my head and say,
I agree. Yep.
So it's all about fixing problems. And so I appreciate that approach, because that's a really high integrity way to look at it instead of just pushing product.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's always my focus.
Well, Kraig, thanks for jumping on. Really appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing the future of the beef industry for you guys and seeing what you'll do.
Well, we're excited. I think it's going to be great.